Hey everyone, and welcome to Television from the Multiverse, the DC TV podcast from MailFuzz TV. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Connor.
Yes, it is.
So, I think I give you a perfectly fair and enthusiastic intro on this show. I do shortchange you on the comics podcast, but I think in this one you get a fairly reasonable intro.
Sometimes.
That was perfectly reasonable, and I was not met with a response that welcomed the enthusiasm.
That was a perfectly reasonable response. Thank you very much.
I don't think so. We talk about DC TV shows on this. We're going to talk about a new episode of Swamp Thing. We're going to talk about a new episode of Krypton and 3 new episodes of Young Justice, which is a 1 week only thing for now. And then it'll be 1 a week of Young Justice, we found out after that. So we'll have
until the last week when there's 3 again.
Yes, but we'll have like 6 weeks or whatever of single episodes, whatever it is.
But we were speculating last week about what it was going to be. So we've got content from DC Universe scheduled up till the end of August now, with the way they're splitting up Young Justice.
Yeah, I have to imagine they're going to announce a date or two at Comic-Con because...
Yeah, well, we know Titans was due in the fall. September falls under that. We know they're showing the Harley Quinn animated show. At least the first episode they're showing there, so we might get a date for that too.
It would just be like them not to have a little gap after the current content's finished before the new stuff starts, before all the CW stuff comes back.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
You know, they couldn't do that when the CW stuff's all starting, maybe for like a few weeks. No. It's going to be a few weeks off, and then the new stuff from DC Universe is going to hit right around the time that the CW stuff is all coming on.
Yeah.
To
be fair, we should have about 6 weeks or so between end of Young Justice and start of CW.
Yeah, I expect it'll start before then. Whatever's next, yeah.
I think if I recall from the original graph, the Harley show was due around September, October. So maybe that'll actually happen.
Maybe. Given that things changed though with Swamp Thing, I have to imagine there's maybe more of a gap than there has been before, just because...
Well, they've probably made up for that by extending Young Justice out, because that would have only been 4 weeks.
Yeah, but there's still 5 Swamp Things left. So I mean, Young Justice is only going to cover maybe 2 more weeks.
If that's true. Well, Swamp Thing, how many? 5 left from. Covers about an extra 4 weeks, by the look of it. It goes to the end of August.
How many Young Justices are left?
13.
Yeah, but that's including the 3.
Well, yeah. So take off 6.
Well, no, take off 3. You've got 10. So the last week's going to be 3. So that's 8 weeks.
Yeah. They're all dated on DC Universe. It runs till the last one's come out on the 28th of August.
What's this tweet I'm getting?
Oh God, this is so unprofessional of you.
I was tagged that idiot James is tagging me or something. He's blaming me for something. Tim tweeted out, unrelated to me, I leave California for 2 weeks and we have 2 big earthquakes. I know it's ridiculous, but somehow this was my fault? ? James responded with, I blame Brahms. You and Wibble89 haven't done enough to appease him.
I mean, he's not wrong.
I don't. No.
Tim's trying, but you keep dragging him down.
Okay. So no news this week. Outside of Doom Patrol's getting a Blu-ray release, I suppose. That's news.
Yeah, which you might want to pick up because I mean we've been talking over the last couple of months about the maybe uncertain future of this service.
It may help with its chances, the show's chances of continuing.
Well, I'm thinking even just the fact that if the service does shut down, you might want a way of just watching Doom Patrol in the future, nice and easily.
Oh, sure. So yeah, that's coming. I think they said there's going to be like outtakes and deleted scenes. Honestly, I think that was it though. There wasn't like an impressive list. It was just outtakes and deleted scenes.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, not exactly a big package, but hey. So that's coming. Other than that, yeah, we've got a Swamp Thing and a Krypton and the 3 Young Justices. Next week we'll be back to having Swamp Thing. It's not Swamp Thing. Smallville in Gotham. Because without just 1 Young Justice. So should be back to business as usual next week, as best as we can try. So, without further ado, we'll dive into Swamp Thing Season 1, Episode 5. It's called Drive All Night. Obviously, feel spoilers for each episode as we talk about them. This episode had young Susie get possessed by the ghost of the Sunderland's dead daughter, and Swamp Thing learns about the Green, kind of.
From what is allegedly the Phantom Stranger.
Is that supposed to be the Phantom Stranger?
Yeah, he calls himself. He calls himself the Stranger. A bit of a phantom. He makes some sort of stupid reference that he's clearly supposed to be the Phantom Stranger. Looks absolutely nothing like the Phantom Stranger.
He's a chubby guy in a boat.
Yeah. I don't see no cloak and hat. But that's supposed to be a Phantom Stranger.
Do you know what frustrates me about this is that there's a moment where
it's terrible.
Is that he tell more nuanced than that. Thank you very much. What frustrates me is that there's a moment where like Swamp Thing's like seeing visions or whatever, right? And he explains to him that you're seeing the memories of the trees through the green, and I'm like, oh, the green, right? I'm like, if I was like enjoying a good Swamp Thing show, and this was the moment where we start learning about the green, I'd be very excited. This would be a nice hype moment.
Yeah, it would.
But for some reason, there's a bearded guy in a boat telling Swamp Thing this.
Yeah, I know. Do you know another moment where I knew that this episode was terrible, and I was like, okay, I think the show might just be terrible, because there's a moment Susie's not here anymore. When you've got the little girl doing the possessed "not here anymore" line, I'm like, yep, okay, this is awful.
No, it was before that. It was the opening scenes. It was after.
They weren't good, but I thought, well, it's not terrible yet.
No, Maria's on the phone to Avery, and he's cheating on her with the sheriff, and whatever's happening. And she goes upstairs, and we get this scene where she's just everything's shaking, and she sees little Susie in the bed. So, you okay, honey? But then when she looks again, she's gone, and she ends up going into the bathroom, and young Susie. Well, at first it's a dead daughter, but then it kind of turns into Susie, and it's the most generic horror movie garbage. And I'm saying this as someone who likes horror movies. I feel like if someone only watches our DC TV like podcast and they don't see any of my opinions and anything else, you're like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, okay, because I'm a big horror movie fan. I do a horror movie podcast with Tim called Streams After Midnight. I talk about horror movies every goddamn week.
Yeah, and they love The Boy.
They do not love The Boy. Tim loves The Boy. I have taste. But this is exactly the sort of generic shit that you get in a supernatural movie that I hate, that I can't stand.
That's this show is is 50 million terrible horror movies that happens to occasionally feature Swamp Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it might be being past being salvaged now after this one.
Well, here's the beauty of it, though. We don't have to care because it's dead.
I mean, it is, yeah, but
it's dead. I mean, I don't know if I quite have the averse reaction to this episode that you do, but that does not mean that I liked it or that I thought any of it was good.
This is everything I hate about shitty horror movies. That it's just tedious. It's boring.
I mean, I guess that's true for me as well, but I guess because there's several, Avery's like threatening Liz or Liz's father specifically to try and convince Liz to stop asking about bank accounts and what he's doing in town. Willie's making turtle soup all menacingly. Which, by the way, do you make turtle soup by literally just ripping the foot off the turtle and throwing it in the broth? I mean, is that how turtle soup is made?
Why not?
I don't know. Wash it first, maybe.
I mean, just going in water, it'd be fine. Boil off. Maybe they're pre-washed.
What do you mean he's literally gutting the turtle right there and then?
Yeah, but he could have washed it before that.
What? Yeah, because when you're making chicken soup, you just cut the leg off the chicken while there's feathers still on it and just lump it in, don't you? That's how you make chicken soup.
Well, no, but you don't peel off the skin, do you? Turtles don't have feathers.
Well, I never actually made chicken soup, to be honest. I would have thought you did peel off the skin.
No. No, you leave the skin has all the flavour.
No, the skin's the worst part. I'll eat the skin of the chicken. I always take it off.
For God's sake. You're a terrible person.
Skin is the worst
Skin
part.
has so much flavour in it.
Nah, it's just kind of fatty, and I don't like it. Disgusting.
Fat, it's got no fat in it.
No, but it feels oily, is what I mean. It feels oily.
Uh,
Not nice.
you need to cook your chicken better.
No, I'm good. I'm more than happy with how I enjoy my chicken. Thank you very much. I don't know. He's just ripping off bits of the turtle and just throwing it in, and I'm like, surely you cut actual bits of the turtle meat and throw it in. You don't just put in the whole foot with the claws or whatever a turtle has. Is it claws? Hoof? I don't know.
Oops, maybe?
Yeah. What do you call the turtle's foot? I don't know. But it felt like a weird part to put in. Is all I'm saying.
It didn't seem weird to me at all.
Seemed weird to me.
Like I said, if I was making a chicken soup, I'd happily just throw in a chicken. Obviously, it would be plucked. There would be no feathers, but I'd be happily just throw in a chicken leg.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. I don't care. Like,
You just don't cook enough.
No, I probably don't. But like, so he tries to threaten. She's like, "Man, don't you threaten me?" Blah 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 blah. Don't care. And that's basically it. Is there any more to that plot afterwards? Where does Sutherland do anything else after outside of Woodrow coming to see him at the end? I don't remember anything else happening with him.
No, I don't remember much.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, because he's not even involved in the possessed girl plot, which is weird given that it's in his house. And it's his like kind of daughter.
Yeah, but he's never in the house.
Yes, yeah. So the daughter phones Abby, and she comes over, and Girl makes it very clear that she's possessed by
just starts saying things that only she'd know, nicknames.
Yeah, and she has like a quick flashback of when she died. We don't see all of it until later when we get the green involved, but yeah. So it basically leads to the girl leading Maria out to the swamp to drown. And Abby's trying to stop her. She's in the water. She's like yelling at her, "No, come on, Maria, let's get you back to safety." Blah blah blah. And nothing's working. And eventually, it's Swamp Thing who kind of has to save her and pick her up and take her out of the water. And he needs to show her the memory of what happened with her friend, with Maria's daughter. So he touches the green and he touches her, and she gets to live out this flashback, like in proper 3D surround sound, the whole shebang. And
it's fancy. It's
very fancy, and we find out that she didn't actually die when Abby pushed her. She jumped in after her to save her, and she was fine. She was pretending to have died, and she's actually joking around and laughing with her in the water. And then something else actively pulls her under, some sort of force in the swamp, which is now we have some idea of a villain of some kind, or something that will have to be appeased by the end of the season, presumably.
You'd think, wouldn't you? I've no idea what this is exactly, because she's quite a bit in the past, relatively speaking.
Yeah, a good 15 years probably.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what it is that's been lurking under there specifically. If it's just some element of the green gone rogue, perhaps.
Or is it just the raw? Are we getting to arcane stuff maybe a bit more quickly than we thought?
Could be. I not usually how the rot operates per se, but I mean, could be.
It would shock me if that's how they do it on this show, but
no, that's true.
So, yeah, so that kind of plays out. I don't necessarily hate the idea of Swamp Thing like giving her flashback by like looking through the green to see it. Like that's fine in concept.
It is, yeah.
That's fine. My problem is that the luring her out there, the girl luring her out there, and everything to do with this plot from a horror movie cliche standpoint is just is everything that I think of when I think of movies like The Hole in the Ground or The Other Side of the Door or The Darkness, or do I have to keep naming bad horror movies from the last like 2-3 years? Because I'll keep doing it.
You can do if you want.
I can name a ton of them.
Yeah, you've seen far too many really shitty horror movies.
So it reminds me of all these things, and I want no part of it. It's terrible. It reminds me of like the sequel to The Ring.
Yeah, I can see that.
Commonly known as The Ring 2.
But why? Why The Ring 2?
What? Why do I think it reminds me of that?
No. Why do we call it that? It's a boring title.
Because they weren't very inventive, I guess. I mean,
Wasn't a very inventive movie, though, was it? So not really surprising.
have you seen it?
I've seen like half of it and got bored.
Okay. I don't like the first American Ring that much either, to be honest. Honestly, the only good Ring movie is the original Japanese one. All the Japanese sequels suck. The American remake and all of its sequels suck. Just watch the original one and that's it. Don't watch anything else. I'll give some credit to Sadako versus Kayako though for being at least a little bit of schlocky fun. That's the girl from the evil, ghost girl from The Ring versus the evil ghost girl from The Grudge. For anyone who's not familiar with those names.
Do they team up and fight something else, like in a traditional versus movie style?
Oh no, they just fight to the goddamn death. Like they're.
Who wins? I want to know.
I can't remember. It's been a couple of years, all right. I remember the whole idea was that someone who's been like basically claimed by the house, the Grudge house, because that's if you go in the house, you're claimed by the spirit, right, for eventual death. But they then also watch the tape. So it's basically them fighting over who
gets the soul.
Who gets the soul, essentially, yeah. It's genius. It's basically what Jim Stelling does with the monetization on YouTube. He makes like multiple companies want to claim it. Yeah, Deadlock. It's just that, but in Japanese horror movies. I'll get two ghosts want to kill me, and they'll just fight it out amongst themselves, and I'll go about my business.
They can take each other out, and I'll have this cool house.
Yes. So. Yeah, I'll plot Blue Devil. He tries to leave town because he's trapped there. We find out. He thought that helping Abby would let him go, but it doesn't. He gets his hand all burned because he tries to cross the threshold, and it's just kind of miserable. But he ends up helping Liz at the end because Liz gets attacked by people, presumably sent by Sunderland, to silence her. And he gets whacked over the head after helping her a little bit. So presumably we'll see him in the hospital or something next episode. And speaking of the hospital, Woodrow has basically discovered that the samples that Abby was looking at came from something that was a living being. So he's on the hunt for Swamp Thing now. Him and Sunderland, they want Swamp Thing.
Because of course they need the thing to abuse and use to get there to make money.
That's basically the idea. I mean, honestly, like them wanting to capture Swamp Thing is something I'd expect. And not even necessarily any earlier than this. I would just have had more focus on Swamp Thing himself in the first 4 episodes. Well, not the first one. I accept the first one only ends with him, but I feel like 2 through 4 should be more about Swamp Thing learning what he is and struggling with what he is. And he did just popped up here or there. That's been his thing.
It does feel like this is a show about this town that occasionally has a Swamp Thing sighting.
Yes. And that's kind of frustrating. But I mean, the episode sucks, and it's kind of like everything I don't like about this show is kind of prevalent in this episode. So even when I'm getting hints of the green or whatever, I'm still just kind of frustrated. And then we had one Madame Xanadu sighting where she's like, "Oh, the daughter's came back, hasn't she? She's in the house. She's there." And I'm like. Again, Joey Xanadu is in this show. She's the person that in a horror movie the character goes to see about end of Act 2 to get exposition on what the ghost is. And it's this mystical person who'll know these things for some reason. That's what Xanadu is in this show.
She kind of is, yeah.
She is that stereotype. I'm not looking forward to watching the rest of it. But do you know what the blessing is? We're already halfway through. We're already halfway done.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of glad there's only 10 now.
Yeah, the other little mini plot is there was a random redneck who wanted to blackmail the sheriff because he witnessed her son do something, so she shot him. That was a scene. That was a
Yeah.
scene. Is that it? Do I have anything else to add about Swamp Thing?
I really have very little to say anymore because it's just doing the same shitty horror things now that I didn't like 3 episodes ago, but now it's all it is.
Yeah, I guess. Still, though, I mean, we try and look for things to actually dissect a little bit. No pun intended.
Yeah.
And I feel like the characters are just too cardboard cutout to really have much to say about them. Abby's kind of, she's got this guilt about her friend, but like other than that, she's kind of a blank slate.
And that guilt's gone now.
And that guilt's gone now. Liz is just kind of that character. She's just that blank slate. There's not really much to her.
Sunderland is just a bit evil.
Yeah, he's just the evil businessman. Again, there's not much more to him. And I mean, Sunderland's supposed to be an evil businessman, but you can make him more interesting than this. You can make him more menacing than this.
Here's the thing: I'd be okay if he was the dull evil businessman if everyone else was interested.
Sure.
It's when like you say, he's expected to be the evil businessman, right? It's fine, but when everyone is just the one thing, it's hard to care about any of them.
Yeah, there's no depth on the show. There's just no depth, and
Yeah.
which would be fine if it was if the horror stuff was actually good and was inventive or well directed or whatever. But for the most part, it's just kind of your typical cliched scenes from horror movies.
Like there was a couple of decent ones last episode.
Yeah. The hand getting stabbed and then grinded off was actually a pretty good scene.
Yeah.
But that's nothing in this episode. It was all just. It's the sort of stuff that's in those movies where they just want to make a quick buck, so they make a low budget supernatural film with a very generic script that's churned out. The difference here is that they're kind of trying to put this into a weekly format. And here's the funny thing though, is that that's actually the perfect place to do those ideas, because a lot of Monster of the Week TV shows kind of thrive on playing with the tropes of whatever horror movies usually do. Supernatural did that. X-Files did that. The hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer did that to great effect. It's not like you watched, I don't know, pick the werewolf episode of Buffy and go, oh, this is the most original werewolf thing ever. No, it plays with your expectations. It just does something with it, right? Nice and simple.
This literally just does like I said, that's why I know the line where she goes, "Oh, Susie's not here anymore." No, okay, they're not even trying. It's just that's the cliche line for the possession, right?
Yeah.
And that's the point where I knew, like, no, they don't have anything to do smartly with this or subvert it. It is just the cliche.
Yep. Played dead serious.
Yeah, exactly.
Played completely straight, and because of that, it's hard to get into or give a shit about. And maybe if you've never seen a horror movie in your life, that's maybe the greatest thing ever. But if you have seen horror movies,
if you're that person, please go and just watch some.
Watch some good horror movies. We'll move on then, because I don't really want to talk about Swamp Thing anymore. We'll move on to Krypton, season 2, episode 4. It's called Danger Close, and Seg gets back to Kandor, where he goes to see Lyta. His plan is basically just convince Lyta to stop Zod, and she'll go along with that. And Adam's skeptical, but he gives him a nice big hug and says, "If you don't come back tomorrow, I'm bringing the army after you," because he cares about him. And it's kind of sweet. It's actually kind of a sweet moment.
Yeah, we actually we start as well with a flashback. We
do, yeah, to their first meeting. Although it turns out to be kind of a memory, or he's dreaming a memory, but Brainiac kind of pops in at the end, like for a little jump scare, and it's kind of like, so it's the first hint that Brainiac still might be in there. Like we think he's been kicked out, but he might still be in there.
Yeah, and no, this was a nice little scene. Their first meeting. It was a fun. It was because we've not really seen them together this season. So it was kind of like this reminder of, okay, no, they actually had chemistry together, right?
Yeah.
Complete with the Star Wars reference too, which I always appreciate.
That was a Star Wars reference?
Yeah, when he comes around the corner and he goes, "Oh, aren't you a little short for a Sagittarius?"
No, yeah, okay. Very good.
Yeah, I chuckled.
Ah, dear.
But to be fair, given that the whole episode they're constantly going, "Oh, the rebels and the rebellion," and that's the reference they make there, I thought that showed restraint.
that showed restraint. Okay.
Once they'd done one there, I thought, right, when Adam gets back to the rebellion and he's like, "Oh, look, you're all rebels," I thought he was going to crack a couple of references.
So Seg goes to see Lyta, and she immediately is in shock, and then embraces them, and we cut away, they come back, and they're in bed, and they're all happy and whatnot. And he starts broaching the subject a little bit. He's like, "So all that stuff that Zod's been up to," it just kind of sticks up for it, and ultimately kind of, I mean, betrays maybe a strong word for
Yeah,
this, but she does tell Zod that he's there, and he didn't want her to, and Zod's like, "Oh, I'm happy. I am genuinely happy you're back," and blah 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 blah. We're doing the best thing for Krypton. Lyta believes that. I believe that, and we can do that with you by our side. So on, so on. But the real plot of the episode for Seg is when he encounters the woman that we saw being conditioned an episode or two ago, who he met back in the tunnels in
yes,
season 1, and she's just, well, he's getting his medical checkup because he's been out in the wild, and this woman's just there as like a nurse or a doctor, just kind of walking around, tapping on tablets and things, and he tries to talk to her, and actually seeing him and like him trying to like bring up like memories from before that were conditioned out of her kind of gives her a seizure. She kind of starts freaking out.
yeah. At first, she just doesn't recognize him, but then he keeps pushing.
Yeah, and that makes her freak out, and he actually does understand quite quickly that she's been reconditioned in some capacity, because he very quickly wants to go to the reconditioning like computers and
Yeah, because he's got an inkling about something that happened with Lyta that might have happened. Because he made a comment um, referring to their first meeting together.
that's
That
right, yeah,
she's
and
the only
she,
Sagittaria that ever helped him, and she responded like she had no idea what he was talking about.
yeah, and it's the first time, because obviously all season we've just been like, oh, Light is taking a dark turn. She's just went to the evil side, and this is the first time that maybe it's something else, that she's still Lighter, but she's been reconditioned, which actually makes it very effective to introduce the reconditioning a few episodes ago with her being the one implementing it. It gives it this kind of dark irony when we find out
Yeah,
that might have happened to her, and of course he can't find any record of it. He's looking for Lighter, and obviously we suspect, as Seg does, that maybe, just maybe, Zod has made sure there's no record of this because he never wants it to find out.
yeah, and the way that Zod talks about it implies that very strongly that he has reconditioned her because he's like, I hope she'd come along on her own.
Yeah, but he actually finds out because he checks another person. Like he actually puts them in the chair and looks at their memories and sees Lyta being reconditioned from their perspective. So that's how he
Yeah,
proves it eventually. Of course, the other big thing that happens here, because obviously they're going to try and recondition him and he fights his way out of it, but the other big thing here, of course, is that when he looks at like the still frame of him being reconditioned and he's like sort of like kicking back and forth, is this really cool like still frame where it's like motion blur and he's got like his head's on both sides, but on one side it's him, on the other it's Brainiac, showing that
yeah.
Brainiac is still definitely in there.
Yeah, because it is that moment where you hear Brainiac's voice, and that's when he snaps out and starts fighting, and it's very efficient fighting, like we've seen, when Brainiac
Yeah,
took
yeah.
over before.
And yeah, and it makes sense that they're trying to technologically alter him, that Brainiac would be able to resist that and be like, no, wait, I'm like the supercomputer here, bitches.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be wiped out
Yeah,
because, in theory, let's pretend he did nothing to stop it. This would kind of overwrite him, you
but
assume.
I think the thing here about Brainiac that I think's worth mentioning is that he does seem to be willing to lie and wait, because before it was like Brainiac's taking control very quickly. We've got X number of hours before you're completely gone, Seg. Where I don't know if what they did slowed him down dramatically, and that's why he's hiding like this. But I would suspect that he's actually being strategic, that he wants to just hide and lie and wait until the coast is more clear.
Maybe I did get the impression that they drained most of him out, into the machine.
Hmm.
So maybe there's only a little bit left in there, so he can't just take control in the same way as before.
I
Maybe
mean,
he's got to
that might be
be
the
more
case.
manipulative.
That might be the case, but I feel like I think it's more interesting if he's making a choice. He's making a choice to not take over. He's like, no, I'm going to hide here for a while
No, I
until.
get what you're saying. I think what I'm saying though is not that he's just not going to take over at all because he can't. So it's more there won't be a direct takeover like before, like he was trying to do. It'll be more he has to manipulate Seg into doing what he
Oh
wants.
yeah, I'm honestly saying there's going to be a takeover eventually. I'm thinking that he's waiting for an opportunity to either get to a new body or build
Mm,
something or whatever. But
maybe.
I like the idea that he's choosing. He's like, no, you know what? Doing it by brute force wasn't working before. It has to be another way.
Mm.
So I think that's cool. But so that's kind of where we leave off that. That's kind of the revelation we leave that on. We get a bit more Kim. His troop is defeated. He's in this. He was conscripted, of course, to the Sagittari, and he is arrested. But we also see him in Dev's flashback, where we find out Dev, while he was still working for the Sagittari, was forced, he was given the order to like blow a tunnel that would kill a lot of civilians, and he refused to take that order. He ended up fighting the Sagittari, and it's actually Kem who lets him go. You know, showing again that Kem's still a good guy. I mean, he's in the Sagittari, but he's
Yeah, but not necessarily by choice. And he wasn't. He was trying to help out and do the right thing the
yeah,
whole time during this.
because when Adam goes up to the moon and the people who find him put him in handcuffs because he appeared out of nowhere, creepy bastard. And of course Val's like, oh, it's Adam, just uncuff him.
Just let it go.
Yeah. But he finds Kim and he's like, oh, Kim, like we need a Sagittari like DNA scan for the door at this base we're going to take over, the top of the elevator. And he's like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. Let's go save the world. And that sets up the plan. But the double turn by Nyssa here,
Which we kind of knew was coming.
which we knew was coming, but it was debatable like how far she was going with it. Like, because when she goes to Val and says, "Hey, Jaxor's got this bomb that's going to like just wipe out everyone with this," every Sagittarius is just going to be like dusted like Thanos, basically, to put it in a term.
Yeah, well that's the intention. But Val's like, hey, one slight mishap and every Kryptonian can be screwed because it's like a gene bomb tied
Well,
to
yeah,
the
that's why it's
codex.
dangerous, yeah. But that's not like later on in the episode. The problem is that Nyssa's actually taken the core like ingredient out of it, I guess you could say. Like Val's giving it to her, and Nyssa's on her way with it, presumably to give it to Zod. That's what Zod's been wanting.
Yeah, that's the codex itself, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is obviously what they use to, genetically create all the Kryptonians.
Hence why that would maybe have the information that would lead, you could, do okay, everyone with this gene.
Yes, exactly.
Off you go. But when they get to the base, they are trapped quite quickly. All of these supplies that Nyssa's like intel got them were sabotaged, so all the troops that were coming towards to help them all just die of suffocation on the way there.
Yeah, because the oxygen things just don't work.
So we end the episode with like the Sagittari coming to Kim and Adam and whoever else is there at the end, and the one Sagittari mask like opens up and it's Lyta, and she says she's here to end the war, and that's where we cut. That's the end of the episode.
Yeah, it's quite a harsh cut actually.
It's quite a harsh cut. They want this to be dramatic, and to be fair, it kind of is. I think this was a much more packed episode than last week. There was a lot more interesting things going on.
There was, yeah.
It's funny because on the one hand, I'm like, it would be interesting if if Lyta had just gone full evil, but at the same time, like knowing that she was manipulated by Zod, like how does she react when she finds that out, and how do they, bring her back and give her memories back?
Can the reconditioning just be undone? Is it as easy as that, or like we've not really seen yet?
Given how the other woman reacted to him when he tried to prod at the memories that she's not supposed to know, I feel like it can be undone. It just takes a lot of prodding.
Yeah, it might not be pleasant.
Yeah, it may not be pleasant. They may have to put Lyta through hell to like get her to realize what she's forgotten. But,
yeah.
A lot of potential there. And Zod's like, oh, it's just, and I wish she'd gotten there on her own, but I did what was necessary for her own good, for your own good, for Krypton's good, and so on and so on. Because Seg at one point tries to reason. I was like, hey, we've seen a glimpse of the future, and you take this too far. That's let's slow down a bit.
So let's cool the jets touch.
But let's be honest, Zod already wants to take over the entire like universe. He's already wanting to do that. So we'll see how that pans out. No, I like this one more.
We should talk about Jaina as well.
Jaina. Oh, she only has a brief moment. You're right with Dev.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, something flying around. I'll just see what it was.
Wait, what happened with Jaina outside of just listening to Dev's story?
No, it is just that, but I don't think we spoke about it, did we?
Well, I mentioned the Blue Tunnel thing. I mean, Jaina's thing with him was basically just, I'm here to listen to you because I care.
But just the fact that she's been mentioned, Seg's like, what does she think about all this? And like, it's like, oh, no one's seen her.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning. Dev thinks Lyta is now, evil incarnate, and he's kind of convincing Jaina that might be true as well. So they need to learn, of course, at some point that that Lyta's been brainwashed.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
Lyta is still Jaina is still saying, thinking, oh no, my light is still in there somewhere.
I was a little bit worried.
She's not ready to write her off.
I was a little bit worried at the start when they woke up in the snow. Still, are we going to spend a whole episode of them traveling towards the city? Luckily, it just cut to them being in the city, and I was like, okay, good.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
Because
there is one major casualty though from this episode.
Yes.
Seg's beard.
Oh yeah, he shaves his beard off. Yeah. That's right.
Because we had the bit at the start, like the flashback, and I was like, oh, I forgot what he looked like without the beard. And then it cut to, they're in the snow, and he's got it. I'm like, it's fine. And then it was gone again. I was like, what did they do that for?
Do you know what's funny about that is that I was thinking to myself, like, hey, how did they shoot it for just this one scene? Did they shoot this at the end of the season or whatever? But then because by the end of the episode he's got it shaved off, I'm like, they could have just shot it later in those few scenes earlier on.
Yeah.
Damn it. Yeah, you look better with a beard, but whatever. We can soldier on. We can soldier on. No, episode 4 was pretty solid. It's kind of everything was ticking forward again. I stand by my episodes 2 and 3 should have been one episode.
I agree. But like I said, I think we felt that more in 3 than 2 because 2 felt okay for the most part. It was 3 that felt like most of that was padding. So this feels a lot better to me now.
Yeah. So there we go. That is Krypton. Which does lead us on to our triple Young Justice episodes. We have episodes 14, 15, and 16. They are called Influence, Leverage, and Illusion of Control. And let's see if I can remember what happened in each one, because it's always a challenge when you do 3 back to back.
It is, and I watched them a couple of days ago, so this will be really fun.
Influence, the first one.
Yes.
This was the Guy Gardner episode. There's a lot of Guy Gardner in space with the Justice League.
Because he's amazing.
And the Hawks, as they're trying to get the Thanagarians to help, but they're not really having it. And they end up fighting Granny Goodness and Big Barda and the Furies at the end of the episode.
That's a lot of fun, that fight.
Yeah, they have that. Whilst the teenagers, Geoforce, Halo, and Bug are given the choice basically to do you want to actually do this? Do you want to be a hero? You're at that point now.
Do you want to be officially on the team?
Yeah. All of whom say yes. I mean, Cyborg's just kind of moping around at the side.
Yeah.
As he does.
He'll get there.
And Beast Boy ends up saving a purse snatcher in gorilla form, but he ends up having a fight with Granny Goodness over it because she's got his contract, and he joins the team again. It ends with him making the choice to join the team. But he still has to work on the TV show that he's contracted for, which leads to him complain about doing 52 takes in the next episode.
So it was really weird to me that there's the bit at the start where he's shooting a scene, and it's like season 3, episode 16, scene 16, take 16.
Yeah, that wasn't this episode. That was like the next one.
No, but okay, why didn't they save that for episode 16 of this show? Like, just put that in the next episode. Because they put it in 15, right?
Yeah.
Because it definitely wasn't in 16. I know that because I remember thinking at the time going, why is this not in 16? Just to really go with that theme. It really annoyed me.
Are we sure it wasn't the start of 16?
Positive.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm absolutely positive.
Because I can easily mix scenes from these 3 episodes together and not be sure
No,
which one
no,
was what.
and I know I can as well. But this one, I remember thinking at the time, going, "Why is this not in 16?" Because I checked. So I was like, "Am I on 16 already?" And I wasn't.
Okay. Leverage was the Russian Justice League, what
The
do they
Rocket
call them?
Reds.
Rocket Reds, thank you.
Love these guys.
So we got a covert mission to go and check out their base and find out are they kidnapping metas or what? And it's just voluntary. They've got people volunteering or training to be like these mech, cyborg.
Yeah, it's a lot harsher than any version I've seen of them before, with the way that the suits kind of meld and looks painful, and
Yeah.
I've never seen it portrayed as that before. It's usually just kind of like a mech suit that you just kind of get in.
The big thing from this one, though, is that they end up encountering I mean, immediately he's not really sure, but eventually it becomes clear this is a Suicide Squad that we're dealing with here. Because Amanda Waller's in the rear. You got Black Manta, Boomerang, and Mala.
Yes.
They're the attack the Russians, and the Titans have to intervene, and it becomes this big fight, and then they have to convince the Russians are not there to actually do anything with them, and becomes this whole thing because it's always meant to go covert, but as Beast Boy points out, it's like they're always meant to be covert, always meant to be reconnaissance, but it never goes that way.
Yeah,
other stuff always happens.
Yeah,
always happens.
But this is a big deal because they're not supposed to be in Russia at all. They don't have the jurisdiction.
So yeah, we have that, and then the other stuff in this episode. I think all 3 episodes had a little bit of Artemis and her kind of getting closer with not regular Roy.
No, it's not Roy.
I say William.
I can't remember what... it could be William.
William sounds right.
It does sound
There's
right.
a lot of characters in this, and it's worse when not all of them have got like their suits and like names yet, because
and some of them literally look identical because they're clones.
Yes, and then because the 3rd episode, Illusion of Control, it's mainly the younger teen characters on like a group bonding thing at the fair. And you get this running joke where Static Shock keeps saying to get a girlfriend because he's the only single one there. Although I think Bart was there single as well, right? Did he? No, he has his princess. That's right. No, Garfield has a princess. Who does Bart have? Does Bart have anyone?
Was Bart there?
Yeah, because he was in the Dodgems, and then
right, he was. He must have been with someone.
He must have been, but
otherwise the Static Shock joke doesn't work.
Yeah, he must have been with someone, but I can't think of who. Because Tracy 13 was there, and she was with Jaime.
Yeah.
The princess who gets kidnapped briefly is with Gar.
Because there was definitely 3 pairings.
There was. Who's Bart dating right now? I don't even know.
Oh, this is frustrating.
This is what happens when you put 3 episodes out on the same day.
It doesn't help, no.
Oh dear. Connor's googling things.
I am. I'm trying to find the episode wiki to see if it'll tell me.
Well, I've got that up.
Oh, for God's sake.
Well, who have we got? Right, obviously it's not Halo. Wendy's there, but she's with Ed, who was one of those runaway characters from before.
He's the teleporter who looks exactly like Spike from Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that happened in the previous episode, actually, is we introduced to this Wendy character with Ed, who's working at the center, and they're trying to treat metas and, like, kind of runaway meta teens and, like, teach them how to control their abilities. And she's all kind of gun-ho until she can't turn her power off, so then she's voluntarily wearing the collar. Because the plot in this, they kidnap the princess. The heroes, with some experience, fly off to help her. But then it turns out that the villains aren't like Count Vertigo in that. It's actually an illusion, and it's Simon, and it's a distraction so that the younger ones who they've left behind, including Wendy, can get kidnapped. But of course they come back and save them. That's your basic
one of
main plot.
My favorite reference to Star Wars was in this bit. The henchmen, when they're at least when they're under the illusion, the henchman is voiced by Steve Blum, who I recognized very immediately. And at one point he says Carabast, which I had to rewind and do a double take to check out you heard it right, because that was a made up thing for his character on Star Wars Rebels. That was that character's equivalent of saying shit, essentially, but on the kids show.
Very good.
But I've never heard it on anything but that show. So I did a double take and I'm like, wait, what? So I thought that was cool. It's I'm happy for that to be his thing on everything now.
Who is Cecilia? Is it not? No, just Celia. Celia? Just Celia.
Celia.
Who's that?
I don't.
No,
recognize
that's the one that Static Shock talks to at the end. That's not Bart's girlfriend if he has one.
Who the hell is it then?
Oh, there's anyone on this list. There's no one left.
No, there's not. Unless it's in the unspeaking roles.
What, is there someone unspeaking there?
Maybe.
I mean, there's a lot of characters there.
There is.
No, that's a villain. No. Oh, is he dating Tara? No, I don't think it is.
Maybe? I don't think so.
I don't remember Tara being there. No, because she was at the Thanksgiving dinner with where Halo and Bug and all that were, right?
Yeah, she was.
Because it was a Thanksgiving thing where Cyborg didn't want to come in for dinner. Then Bug spoke to him, and then he came in for dinner. To boil it down to the simplest possible thing. Oh dear. I'll admit, like doing 3 episodes of this after it being gone for a couple of months when there's so many characters was a little bit of a struggle in terms of like just remembering who everyone was and where they were. And
I didn't feel like I was suffering while I was watching it.
But now you're trying to talk about it.
Yeah. Like when I was watching it, I kind of slipped back in and it felt okay. Trying to remember the minutiae afterwards is more challenging, that's for sure.
Yeah. Give up, you're not going to find anyone.
I'm not, but it's really annoying me. What if I just click on Bart's character if it tells me?
Oh my god, the investigation portion of the show. Buckle up, folks. While he's doing that, I will also add in that there was a lot of stuff in the first episode about the Justice League trying to tell everyone about Granny Goodness's like VR goggles, and she tries to spin it with PR, and Gordon Joffrey's all being all anti-Justice League and pointing things out. Interviews Lex Luthor at one point, either in the first or second episode, and lets him speak his mind because the Justice League are asking for some freedom to do what they need because they're tied up. They haven't built the Hall of Justice again yet because they're tied up in legal tape, red tape. There's no other kind of tape in legal systems.
Well, they could use like yellow police tape.
Nah. Maybe some sellotape to like tape some documents together that they've misplaced, but
maybe
that's about it.
But I give up. I'm not finding it. I don't know who it is.
Just doesn't exist. That's all I can say.
All I know is as soon as we're finished on this, I'm going on and finding out because it's annoying the hell out of me.
Did you like the 3 episodes? Like, what was?
I did. They're very enjoyable. They were probably not the strongest 3 that they've had, and I will say, it doesn't feel like it was planned in the writing stages to have a break.
No, there was nothing about this that felt like it was reintroducing me to the world. It was just
This wasn't like a like a mid-season premiere or anything like that. This was just the next 3 episodes.
Yeah. Which made it more challenging, I think, just because I was like, okay, I need to remember where everyone was, what they were doing. That's right, they got Tara back.
The last episode of this was months ago, right?
Yeah, and of course Tara is working with Deathstroke. We see a hint of that. She's recording dialogue for him. Yeah. Or just conversations, as they say. It's not dialogue from her perspective.
No, it's not. But we got what you meant.
Yeah. So... No, I mean, I thought it was a fairly strong batch, but not like... Because some of the episodes before the break, we had that one where all the mums had the kids, and it was like the spy across the street. Like, oh, I'm going to kill...
There has been some fantastic episodes this season.
Yeah.
These are not the fantastic episodes. They're fine episodes. They're good episodes. But they're not the the standouts by any means. I think the only reason that we're even really complaining about that is that it's been off for months, and this is the return, and you kind of hope for a big, strong statement of a return after a few months off. And I think if this had been planned to have that break when they were writing it, we would have got that. But I suspect they just didn't know, and this just happened to be where the split fell.
Maybe there's one on the service and I just didn't notice it. But I could have used like a meaty like 3-minute recap of the first half of the season just to.
There wasn't one.
No.
Or at least I didn't get one, but I don't get them on Netflix either, so what the hell do I know?
Yeah, I feel like I could have used that nice meaty recap of the first half of the season just to rekindle all the plot lines and characters and what they were up to before. It was a bit of a challenge just jumping straight back in again. But that said, I mean the quality is there like it has been. Like and I like that it does focus on all these smaller characters. It's just because it was like Ed, I was like, okay, I don't remember this dude. I had to look up the wiki and who was he again?
It came back to me as it went through it. Like I didn't recognize him at first, but as it went through the episode, it kind of was trickling back.
And I did the same with Wendy, only to find out that Wendy was completely new. I would never seen her before, but it was the same thing where because I was doubting other characters, I was like, oh, have we met her yet?
I liked the quasi training scene with like Livewire Mist, and her doing showing off the powers.
Yeah, no, that was fun. That was fun. And yeah, there's some Beast Boy has some good moments. There's a scene where he's like, is that the second one? Second or the third? I don't know. He's in both fights, but where he's got someone wrapped in a snake, and then when he gets thrown off, he turns into a gorilla. So you see the fangs from the snake become the gorilla's fangs, and it's like a really nice transition.
It is
between them.
There's actually some really fluid transitions with Beast Boy in these sequences.
Yeah, so those were pretty good. Yeah. I think that's me for those 3 episodes. I don't know if I've got any like.
No, they were enjoyable. That's for sure.
Yeah,
and
Guy Gardner was
continuing on
being a dick. Just put that out there.
Yes, he was in the most absolutely delightful.
They all hate him, as they should, because he's the worst.
That's why he's the best.
He's like
when he's out there singing and they're just like mute. I'm like, this is why I love Guy Gardner.
Like, oh, you want to kiss my ring? Me.
Yeah. Love it.
Nah.
They nailed it. Is all I can say.
Nah. No time for Guy. No time for it. But there we go. So that brings an end to all the new shows this week. Picking a favorite, kind of weird. I think Krypton was solid. All 3 Young Justices were solid.
Yeah. Problem is, I'm not sure if I can differentiate enough between the Young Justices to pick a specific one. Actually, I'll probably go with the first one because it had all the Justice League in space stuff. Guy Gardner, the fight at the end where Superman has to save Bada and the others.
Okay.
I like that stuff a lot.
I'll go probably with the second one. I think I liked all the Rocket Red stuff. Interest in the Suicide Squad. The fight when they interact is really good.
It is.
It raises some interesting questions where Geoforce is like, oh no, we should intervene, and Artemis is like, no, we're good. Like we can't intervene with here because this is not our business. We were here to check that they weren't doing something awful, but they're allowed to build an army of volunteers if they want to.
Yeah, it's volunteering to fight crime. Who are we to stop them?
Yeah,
that was a good line.
So no, I mean that was good. Oh, we mentioned Halo's thing actually. She remembers the body that she's now in. She remembers that the previous life. She actually accepted a bribe to let the villains into the palace. So now she's terrified of Breon and that finding out.
Yes, leads to a hilarious moment where she yells to stop bribing the dog.
Yes, and Jace knows, and I don't trust Jace because of Black Lightning, because we watched that show and Jace on that was a complete and utter bitch. So I'm terrified that she's about to betray everyone.
This is the thing. This show has done nothing to tell us to even really hint that she's going to betray everyone. But Black Lightning has made me convinced she's terrible.
And also Artemis's mother is like mortified that Artemis is being a vigilante again.
Yeah.
So, and she's like, no, why don't you just marry William and raise the kids?
delightfully awkward, isn't it?
Such a mum moment.
Yeah.
But there you go. So yeah, let us know what you thought of this week's episodes in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. You can get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show, you can, of course, rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast app you use. It helps us out a lot if you do. Well, give us 5 stars, that is. You can support us financially over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv for as little as $1 per month, and make sure the shows all keep coming. But otherwise, that is that. So, but check out all the content we do. Of course, me, Connor, along with Matt, do a comic book podcast every week called Comics from the Multiverse, which is all DC comics every week as opposed to the TV shows. So check that out. It's over 160 episodes going. So it's we're veterans at that show at this point.
It's a well-oiled machine until Pete forgets basic character names.
Shut up. Starman's not a basic character. I refuse to be told that Starman is of a basic tier.
Starman, Starfire. You got a problem with people with Star in the name, is all I'm saying.
You stop a regular Joe on the street and you ask them, you show them a photo of Starman and see if they get it right. I'm just saying.
Yes. But you're not a regular Joe. You've been reading that comic for 27.
I had a brain fart, okay? They happen. They happen all the time. Just because it happened with a superhero.
Just with characters that have Star in the name.
Just because it happened with hell, I've been doing it with Elizabeth and Heather on like other shows. Like, just because it's like a superhero's alias name doesn't change the fact that I do this with every name ever.
No, but it's funnier.
Anyway, so yeah, thank you very much for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching DC TV shows and all that sort of stuff. But remember that sometimes we screw things up for the better.